Okay, guys, on today's lesson, we are going to be dividing square roots. Essentially, what we're doing, we are dividing square roots. We are going to be simplifying the square roots, but we're going to do it 2 times in the same problem. Here's what it looks like. If we start off with a problem that looks like this, 81 over 16, and I want to take the square root of the entire thing, the breakdown becomes this. We are going to take the square root of the numerator, or the number on the top, and the square root of the denominator, or the number on the bottom. Now, as you look at some of these numbers, some of these square roots are going to work out in your head, and that's good. When you can identify one, then there's no work to actually do. We should all know that the square root of 81 is actually 9. So I'm done taking or simplifying the numerator in this case. And that the square root of the denominator here, 16, is 4. There's nothing else to do for that particular problem right there. So again, the idea becomes this. When I'm dividing square roots, all we're going to do is take the square root of the numerator and the square root of the denominator. Now, obviously, we got to make this a little bit more complicated. So how are we going to do that? Well, let's take a number like this, 24 over 36. Again, these numbers aren't going to break down quite as easy. But that becomes my first step right there. Simply just rewrite it as the square root of a number over the square root of another number. Now, as we look at this business right here, is there anything that we can simplify right away without having to do any work? Hopefully we can all see right here that the square root of 36 is 6. So we're going to leave that alone, okay? Out of the gates, though, the square root of 24, do you know that off the top of your head? Well, I don't either. So we're going to rewrite that as the square root of 24. Okay, now we have to go back to the very first lesson that we had with square roots, which was just simplifying the square root. So I'm going to take this number 24, and I'm going to come over here on the side, and I'm going to break it down and simplify the whole thing. Again, this number is an even number, so divide by 2. And now we have 12. 12 divided by 2 gives us 6. 6 divided by 2 leaves us with 3. So how am I going to rewrite this? Again, we are looking for pairs. So there's a pair of 2's right there. So I would rewrite this with a 2. And the 2 and the 3 are not pairs. So they still need some protection. So they got to stay in the house here. So it looks kind of like that. Obviously, 2 times 3 right here becomes 6. So the square root of 24, when you break it down, actually becomes 2 radical 6. So what are we going to do with that? Now I'm going to take this and put it where the square root of 24 once existed. So far so good. We got this thing broken down now. And the last thing that we're looking for is, can I reduce the fraction? If you look real close right here, guys, we're no longer worried about the square root of 6. That's almost like a variable. It's like an x. There's nothing you can do to it anymore, so leave it alone. However, this 2 over 6, if I kind of took this over here on the side and I wrote 2 over 6, could you reduce that fraction? And hopefully you say, yeah, we definitely could. Both those numbers are divisible by 2, and when you do that, you end up with 1/3. So this fraction right here, or the square root of 24 over 36, when you completely break it down, you should end up with the square root of 6 over 3. Now there's that problem worked out in its entirety. It's a lot of steps, I realize that, but nothing too difficult that you can't handle. So the last one that we have right here is going to look a little different. Now we got a problem right here that says 2 over the square root of 3. Big problem in this case. You cannot have a radical in the denominator. Okay, cannot. So what do we do when we do have a radical in the denominator? Basically this. Whatever this number is, okay, in this case it's the square root of 3, I'm going to multiply that number times the numerator and times the denominator. So when we multiply this across now, we end up with 2 times the square root of 3 over the square root of, now if you look at this, we're going 3 times 3, which is 9. Now, can we break that down at all? You bet. 2 radical 3, because there's nothing to do up here on the top. I can't multiply these anymore. However, in the denominator right here, I have the square root of 9. What is the square root of 9? It becomes 3. If you recall from the last problem, we had a 2 and a 6 in this spot right here, and we were able to reduce that. In this spot right here, we have a 2 and a 3. Can we reduce that? No. So in the end, that's the solution right there.